Okay, so I have finished the box and putting the faux leather on and checking my corners and making sure they're pretty, pretty well done. I also have these corner protectors I'm putting on the corners so that will cover the top parts as well. And as for some of these corners, I mean, if you see a little bit of white or something from the because I mean there's the white underside of the vinyl, you can just take like I'm taking a dark brown marker and just seal it like that, and it won't be noticeable. So I made a note for myself. I want a ribbon on here so that when it opens, it doesn't open any farther than that. So I'm going to put that ribbon in as soon as I get the hinges on. And and I'm thinking I'm going to change it a bit, and then I'm going to do a smaller journal here because I did make the insert for the lid, and the insert for the lid is this, and that's going to be the tool so that you would have your writing tools with you. And then I'll make a smaller journal here and probably a couple of boxes, small boxes to go here with other things in it that you would use for working on a journal. So that's what that is right now. And I put that on a nice hard board to make sure it's all independent of itself and reinforced it and everything. It was a lot of fun to make. Anyway, so now I'm going to work on the hinging and the corners. So put the corners on. I put it that way. I use glue. There are holes for little nails, but because it's so thin, I mean you can't really use that. So I'm going to use some glue in here. Oops. I like the little bottles are more expensive, but I do like them for the tip on them is nice. So put a little bit of that in there. Don't want too much, but you do need it to tack. And I got a feeling I'm probably going to have to hold it a little bit. I mean, that side, because these sides always kind of... I use baby wipes, and I'm using that glue because it's got the ones with alcohol in it are good for keeping your hands less sticky. So I'm trying to push it together, push that down and push that together. You can see a little bit of glue coming out there, so I'm gonna just hold it for a minute. I can't think of a way to do this without holding it. So I'm going to hold that until it has a good grip on it. And you guys don't want to watch me do this, so but that's the next step. So I'll pause the video now and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the corner things on. I just glued them. Actually, I went back and I took the metal corners and I kind of, where the split is, I pushed them in a bit so they would be easier to stick on. There's a little bit of excess glue, but I'm not too worried about that because that will rub off easily. The Fabri-Tac glue does rub off pretty easily if you get it someplace you don't want it. So now I'm working on the hinges. And what I do with my hinges is I always use my little split pins, because what I like to do is get them through, and then I use this little jewelry tool and I flatten them nice and flat. I do this because if you're going to put paper on top of anything, then they're going to stand out. Or albeit like in the lid, I may not put paper there, but I will just color them with a dark brown marker so they won't be so noticeable. And then I just have them on. I pick the middle spot and then about 1.5 inches in from the edge. And you can of course do more hinges if you want. I do find that this 3 is sufficient for this size personally. And so I got my spots here and I got those on. So what I'll do now is I will use a pokey tool and I will make a hole. It's harder to do it, but at least if you can make an impression of a hole in here, and then because it's the middle, it's really hard to, and it's not this like stiff wood or anything. So make your 2 holes, and I always put a little bit of Fabri-Tac here anyway, just to give extra hold. You don't need a lot. Of course, you can use other glues as well. I mean, some people prefer hopefully you guys can see that. I'm doing that all out of one. Anyway, so there it is. Some people prefer other glues, so I mean, just use whatever glue you think works for you. That is the important thing. Get my little pins through, and then, oops, watch out there. Now open it, and you can see the little pin sticking through. I do the center one just because it'll give you some support while you're working on the other ones, because you do have to open it up like this. And I just use my horrible nails that I have and open it up. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. You just want it so it doesn't slip out. There's one. There's one there. And now I'll go back and do the other 2. Pardon me. We don't have much smoke right now, but we have had quite a bit of smoke lately in our area, which has not been fun. I can tell you that. My husband and I bought kayaks at the end of last year, and we've only been out once because of the smoke. It's just, and our motorcycles we haven't even been on yet because of the smoke. So another summer being stuck inside, and we can't blame the pandemic, can we? Like I said, I take my time and I do them one at a time. I don't want to, I don't like making mistakes. I've made them. I'm trying not to make any more. Use this to open it up a little, because those can be quite pokey. There, just want it opened up enough so I can, and now I'll do this side. And the hinge, yeah, just check when you're putting the hinges on that so you don't put them on backwards, that they flip down the right way and not the wrong way, because they do have a direction. I'll show you. I mean, I'm going to be putting a ribbon in this anyway. But yeah, so this, it closes all the way that way, but it only goes that way. So if you put it on the wrong way, then you're only going to get it to open up the wrong way. So, but these have a little pattern on it, so it's easier to tell. Did I put these holes in? Oops. And I try to find interesting little hinges to use as well. So it's kind of makes it a little bit, adds a little bit of kind of jewelry to the box. pin open. Sometimes it's, I need new glasses too, so it's not helping me to try to see these little things, which way they go. All right, so now because I can't really clip them on the outside, I use the other side. I just push them down like that as best as I can. And then if you set it up this way, because you really, this is the main thing that's holding this together, so you really kind of want to make sure these are nice and spread out nice. The tighter you can get them, the better. Like this one does not seem to want to get very tight, so I'll go in and put this in between and try and spread it out better. If it gets too wobbly, then it actually puts more stress on the hinge as well, and you don't want that stress. So there's the hinges are done, and then I have to figure out what clasp I'm going to use in the front. Let's see what I have here. I have this one, but I don't know if it's too big, but it does look kind of neat, doesn't it? Let's do this one. So again, I will find my center, which will be 5.5. Make a little mark so I at least know where my center is. And I will take my clasp, place that there, in the bottom there. So if you can see where it is, and make sure it's nice and straight. I'll close it. Hang on. I'll close this thing. Probably the best idea. That's what I usually do. Close it. Should be about right there. Okay. And you kind of hold your box together. The other thing, if you do want a sturdier box, you can double up the board. Just have to remember that for, and just mark where I have to punch my little holes on this one. There. And sometimes, like, these are very gold compared to that, so sometimes I'll go back and I'll paint them. I might go back and paint them black or brown just to make them stand out less. Or, as I said, you can always use a brown permanent marker works best. Punch my holes first. You can also use, I'm sure you could use your Crop-A-Dile as well. I do not, but that's because where's that? Didn't see the mark well, that one. Because when I'm using the small pins, I find the holes a little big, and I don't want it too big. So there is that. Okay, put this on, find my holes, and then put my pins in. go in. I can squeeze these together now. There we go. That just works so perfectly. Oops. I shouldn't have said that, because now I got one that's not really all the way through. Maybe the pin is just short. I do not know. Okay, that's all right. All right. Got that one on right. That's that one. And then, of course, when I do the bottom one, I want to line it up with a hole, but I also want to put, let's get this, lock it, so we make sure it's all lined up properly. Some glue here. Just to help reinforce it. And then we put our pins in. Because I can do that hole well enough. Nope. Hole isn't going through the leather all the way. There we go. There we go. It should work now. I'm always forever checking to make sure everything lines up, because it's not something you really want to have a mistake on, because it can be very frustrating to have to fix everything, and especially if you do have to replace a lot, then it's even more of a pain. There we go. Now we'll do these two holes. It's all lined up. That locks. And put our last two pins through. Hopefully you guys can see this. Oops, did that wrong. Do I need to use this instead of my horrible nails to get in between them? There. Okay, that is the box basically done, and I just have to decorate it with however I'm going to decorate it and figure that part out. Oh, I had a corner come off. I'll have to put that back on. Anyway, so that's it. Okay, see how you bent them so that you can't really see the crease. So I was just playing with it too soon and hadn't dried enough yet. No problem. We'll put some more glue in there. And then it pretty much conforms to the corner, which is nice. You could also do feet on them as well. I have done that in the past as well, just on my Asian themed ones. They have feet, which is kind of neat too. Make it look a bit more like a jewelry box. And that's that. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do for a handle yet, or if I'm even going to put a handle on it, but that is the basics of how I do my boxes. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful, and that and you make your own boxes and you don't have a hard time with them like I did for my first couple. It took a bit of time to figure out, you know, making sure, you know, especially, you know, if you're putting things on the inside, I recommend, you know, you put the short ends on the inside rather than on the outside, because then you have to cut them longer. But anyway, that's basically how I do a box. Thanks for watching, everybody.